Okay, just got this ball from a friend of mine. We're gonna make a video about this on the channel. This ball has been through the worst break-in. The wet paper towel, the shaving cream. I think it's been through one game too, it looks like. And he gave it to me to see if we could get this fixed up. I think we can, honestly. It's a little dry, and him or his guys have taken most of the wax off this leather, which is annoying. So I'm gonna brush this up and see if we can't get this into a playable state. Okay, there's the finished product. Turned out really good. Let's rewind. We'll talk about some of the new tricks I used. Had to go into the bag a bit for this one and took some inspiration from a few good colleagues. Are they colleagues of mine now? Maybe. In terms of their process, just to see if I could get really the most out of this ball. I'm very happy with the way it turned out. Let's rewind a bit to how it came to me. Definitely went through a crappy process. My understanding is that it went through shaving cream, a wet rag, the quote unquote dye wiping. There is no dye that needs to come off of these balls. I've said this a million times on the channel. I still see people in my comments talking about shaving cream and wet rags. Do not do that. You will muck up your ball. And then this one went through a game as well with that process. So just to kind of tie a bow on that, my understanding is it went through wet rag, shaving cream, brushing with the bar, or with the Wilson brush, Wilson tack bar, Wilson tack spray, and nothing else. So when I got this thing was dried out, okay? That said, I had a decision to make on the first step. Normally I put like a thin coat of leather honey on the balls to moisturize as best I can. This one came in needing a lot of moisture. And I also realized pretty quickly that the guy who did the initial break-in didn't spend equal time on all the panels, okay? So you can see the bottom two panels, incredible. These top ones, not so much in terms of their color. Now that could be because this was a blemished GST that was purchased from Amazon, but I think it's probably more likely that they just didn't do a good job in the break-in, given the steps they followed. No offense, but clearly they don't know what they're doing and how long they should be doing it for. So that said, I went with a thick coat of leather honey, super thick. I don't usually put on that much because I think if you put on too much of a really viscous conditioner, it's gonna be hard to get the stickiness, even if you can get the ball to be soft. And let's face it, you need both. I've said before that I break in for soft now and add tack later, but you need both. And this ball had just so little moisture that I thought, you know what? If I can't make it soft, then it doesn't matter how tacky I can make it because it's gonna be difficult to play with anyway. So I loaded it up, waited 24 hours, got a pretty good result. Then I mudded. For the mud, I used leather milk as the add-on. I have used different combinations. I've used the leather honey as an add-on, works really well. I've used Lexol as an add-on, works really well. And even the Wilson conditioner as an add-on, works really well. So I would say that if you don't want to use leather milk, you don't have to. But that's my preferred additive, even though it's quite expensive. Go with the cheaper one if your pocketbook demands it, you'll still get a good result. Now here's where I started to change my approach. I left the mud on there, basically stripped of all water because I didn't want any more moisture in this ball. The moisture from the water had already ruined the leather, so I wanted to get as little water as I could. And so I ended up with kind of a chunkier mud than normal and let it sit for 24 hours. Rubbed it in as best I could and, as always, just waited. When I got to the part where I brushed the mud off, I took a page from Gio of Gio's Football Company, took a page from his book. Most of the time I would add another layer of conditioner once I brushed off 95, 96, 97% of the mud brushed off and into the ball. But what he does on his channel is adds a little Lexol to a microfiber cloth and then does a light wipe over the entire ball just to get off any bits of dust, and it adds moisture, adds conditioner, which is what I needed. I wanted to add a little bit more conditioner, even though I didn't want to overdo it. And I thought this is a pretty good way to do this, and we get the mud off. So I did it. Gotta say, it turned out really well. Gio knows what he's doing. Gio is not big mud, as some of you have suggested. He is, let's say, small, medium mud, working out of his house, and he's been helpful to me over the last few months. Here and there as well. So I recommend leaving him alone. He's doing good work. Anyway, so shout out to Gio for that. That turned out well. I left it for a few hours because the coat wasn't really that thick. Normally that would add another 24 hours to the process. It's usually what I do. I condition the whole ball following the mud step and let it sit. This time I did not. And then I had to decide about how to use the tack bar. Now the tack bar does a good job adding tack, but not a good job adding moisture. And I still thought the ball felt a little dry. So I decided to go to the tacky bar instead of the Wilson bar. And the tacky bar, for all the, issues with it, and there are some, I think, it won't add as much tack to the ball, as much stickiness to the ball as the tack bar does. So before a game, would I use this over the Wilson bar? I don't know, maybe. But I'll tell you, it served its purpose this time. And so I did a full run of the tacky bar over the ball. And instead of using a Wilson brush this time, I used a shoe brush. So the Wilson brushes, this is a new one that I just got, very coarse, very hard, and they're great for the initial break-in, kind of getting the dye and the tack that ships on the ball into the leather and softening it just a little bit, making it throwable, let's say. If you do this as a step one when you get a ball, because you don't want to do mudding and all that other stuff, you're probably doing fine. But this will not give you an even application of tack bar or sticky bar. Either one, okay, will not give you an even application. You'll notice that when you brush with this after waxing, you sometimes get some streaky finish, and it takes a few applications. So this time I thought, you know what? I'm gonna use a shoe brush. Now a shoe brush is much more malleable, soft. This is a money's worth and best, I think, although you can't see the sticker. My dog, got into these things when he was a puppy. God bless him. This brush, I should say, does a better job of evenly applying the tacky bar. And the tacky bar adds a bit of moisture, or a bit of conditioner, I should say, adds a bit of tack. And I gotta tell you, I'm a convert. This is a good product. I may try the tacky bar on some other balls. I have an F2000 that's in the mud spa right now for a fella from the GTA who's coming to pick it up tomorrow. So when I finish that ball later today, I may use the tacky bar. Even if I don't though, I will for sure be using that style brush instead of the Wilson brush to finish it. So this turned out about as good as you're gonna get. Now I wanna just make a comparison here. This is a ball that does not have any nonsense break-in process applied to it. This is just all my process. It's brushed, it's conditioned, mudded, waxed, whatever, okay? The difference in the way the leather looks is like, it's striking immediately, and not just because of the logo popping, but if you look at just the darkness and the dimpling here, you've not had anything wiped away that should have remained on the leather, number one. Number two is that because this leather kept the conditioner, kept the wax and tack, I should say, they shipped with it in the leather, I think this actually took to the rest of the products better. It's not dried out like this one was, and as a result, you have a really nice even finish. Now, apart from aesthetics, okay, I just want to point out that this ball on the right, the one that I spent time with and did not have a crappy process to begin with, this ball will last a lot longer, okay? Because when you break in, what you're really doing is, every step of the process is adding to the feel and quality of the ball, but it's also adding to the longevity. This ball will do better in the elements than this one will. Period, end of story. This is just going to be the way it is for these two balls. You could have saved yourself a lot of time and trouble just doing this, because if you do the ball breakers process with the shaving cream and the rag and everything, the ball feel is going to suck regardless. You're going to have to do a proper process to make the ball playable, or you're going to waste the whole season trying to break into ball. And I would suggest, or at least posit to you, that if you go through a process that makes no sense with the shaving cream and the wet rag, the odds of that same person conditioning properly a ball during a season is fairly close to zero. And so that's why you got these guys buying balls every year, even in beer league, where the ball is taking a lot less punishment than it would in a tackle league, high school, college, level, and still they can't maintain a ball through the whole season. This ball that I did for my buddy will last a long time, but it will not last as long as this ball will. That said, he knows that, and he's gonna buy both, okay? So this one, like always, I charge $50 for a break-in. It takes a couple of days. You can either send it to me and I'll break it in, or you can buy it and I'll go pick it up from Litson's here on your behalf, and we'll go from there. This ball I'm gonna sell for, I think I told him 200. So all in all, you're getting a pretty good value either way. Now I wanna note a couple of things here. You can obviously message me if you want a ball broken in, we'll sort it out. The best way to get it to me and the best way to get it back to you. And if you're in Southern Ontario, I went up to Litson's the other day, showed them a few of the balls that I'd done. And I'm gonna drop off a few business cards. They really like the product, and why not? It's a good, I have to say it's a good product, man. We do a good job here. Well, I do a good job here. And looking at the cost of the Wilson break-in products, if you buy the tack spray, the conditioner, the tack bar, and the brush, you're gonna be close to $120. You can either do that or you just pay me 50 bucks and use a brush that you have around your house to brush the thing after games, plus some Lexol maybe every so often to get the leather softened up. This is a better value. And I think if you wanna try this with me, you're not gonna be disappointed. So that's it. Saved a ball for a buddy, and I look forward to having this ball thrown against me in a few weeks. We'll be playing against each other in the league that we're in. I'm sure it will sail very well. So yeah, until next time, guys, take care and stay away from shaving cream and wet rags, for God's sake.